Hey traders, welcome to what is the second video of the Forex trading series that I've promised you guys. Now, I've been debating within myself as to the order within which to release some of these videos, and also what information should I actually be putting into the videos. It's the issue really is that there's just so much information, and I'm trying to not only compress that into hour-long videos, but at the same time simplify it so that even the novices understand what it is that I'm talking about. Now, Einstein once made a statement popular when he said that when you can't explain something simply, chances are you didn't understand the subject matter well enough, right? Now, the one thing that I wanted to stamp into this course was the uniqueness of my own experiences. See, I'm the sort of person that doesn't really do anything by the book. I'm the sort of person that likes to create a new path because that's just uniquely me. My life's unique, and so are all of you. You guys are individuals and you're all unique. And so what I thought was that before I actually go into the technicalities of trading, technical analysis, the charts, fundamentals, the focal points, the one thing that I must absolutely do is reinvent this whole concept of mindset. And I've tried to write some things down so that I kind of don't lose my way and go off on my own tangent. But I realized after doing about 10 to 15 takes that that doesn't really work. It's artificial. And so I'm creating this video and I'm going to wing it. Okay, so please bear with me. And in doing so, I'm going to try and create thought processes in real time so that I can deliver possibly an explanation of the workings of the universe to you. And at this stage, I don't know how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to try and break this up, okay? And go in whatever order comes to me naturally. The first thing I'd like to do is apologize to all of you that have been waiting for the video series to come out. I traveled out to New Zealand and I just got back to Sydney on Tuesday. And also the other thing is I've just been exhausted. And for those of you that know of my sensitivities with just energy and just feeling the environment around myself, since about the 26th of Feb, which also happens to be the day the solar eclipse happened, we've entered into a new astrological alignment. Venus has gone into retrograde as well. And at this present moment, the Earth actually is being drained of energy. And so all of us that are part of nature are also being drained of energy. And because of my sensitivity to energy, it's causing all sorts of havoc. So that's also another reason why I've delayed releasing any of the videos, because I'd like to put a lot of my energy into it, and so that you not only do you guys hear my words, but you're also able to feel my energy. Okay, so I'm going to attempt this video, and we'll see how we go. Okay. Now I'm going to start off with a couple of examples that Tony Robbins, the self-help guru, has put out. These two examples inspired me as well. Now, I've always been an advocate of minor changes that you make to your awareness, to your focus, to even your actions in life that will then result. It's like almost like a snowball effect, where down the track it will result in massive changes. It's almost like, when you're taking a small amount of money and then you're constantly compounding it. That over the course of a time period, that tiny investment will turn into something major, right? So in the same way, what Tony Robbins discovered was that at times all you need is a millimeter shift in focus, or a millimeter shift in your physique, or something within you that will result in you being able to hit the goal that you've always been striving for. So the examples were where he actually went out to play golf, and he brought in a golf coach, and he asked him to observe and to advise as to how he could become a better golfer. So he stood there, took a swing, hit the ball, and if you could imagine a clock, an analog clock, and you've got the green dead set ahead of you at 12 o'clock, and 3 o'clock is to your right. When Tony Robbins struck that ball, it went straight towards about 2:30. Okay, so that was 80 something degrees off where it should have been. Now, the golf coach looked at him, looked at his stance, observed his swing, and said to him, Tony, if you could only move 1 millimeter or so to your left, and that would shift your swing as well, 1 millimeter to your left, and if you could then try again. And so Tony followed suit, and he did. And this time round, when he struck the ball went straight ahead and landed on the green. At that moment, he realized something, that all it took to create a shift of some 80 something degrees from both results, the first result to the second, was a millimeter shift at the starting point of where he was. And similarly, this theory of his was reaffirmed when later on he went out to see one of his clients who was a plastic surgeon. And so this guy had created a book whereby he was training other plastic surgeons on how to transform excuse me, a person from looking ugly to transforming into what society would consider to be beautiful. And all it entailed was 13 1 millimeter incisions on the person's face. And that was it. Those 1 millimeter changes would result in a person going from what society would consider to be ugly to what society would know to be beautiful. And that completely reaffirmed for Tony that in life, it doesn't matter what we do, all it is required is just very minute changes. And with my own experiences, it's been as simple as just reshifting your focus just a little bit. And that's this whole concept of mindset that I'd like you guys to begin to understand, right? So if I may say this before we go any further, everything that I try and put out in my channel, even within this video series, is my own unique energy, and it's to do with my own unique experiences which have kind of gone through over the last 30 or so years. And the whole point behind it is where I'm sharing something that I've tried and tested, where I've put a lot of thought into myself. Much of this stuff you probably won't find in books because I haven't discovered those in books. It's something that I'm just doing in real time and then applying so much thought to that automatically just results in some sort of awareness or expansion in awareness. And that's what I'd like you guys to do. I'd like for you to challenge your uniqueness right now. I'd like you to challenge everything that society has taught you right now. I'd like you guys to develop the courage to make that decision to transform everything that you have known about yourself right now. Because what we're going to discuss in this video most likely will uproot everything that you've known. It will dispel belief systems. It will give you a deep understanding of who you are, what actually has been the root cause of whatever you've manifested in your past, what's manifesting in your present moment, and what you can actually do to manifest what it is that you want in your future. Okay? Now, here's the thing. The biggest problem that I have with this concept of mindset is that a lot of the times it's used falsely. As a trader, on one level, if you're not succeeding with, say, a strategy or a way of trading, you're often told that you need to correct your mindset, right? And they're not entirely wrong. I know I've said that to various people. We're not entirely wrong there. But where we are mistaken is that we're not able to clearly define what mindset actually is. And if you were to define what mindset was, then you'd know how to actually establish a mindset that one is able to run you on autopilot, and two, it's an established program or energy that is going to be unfailing. It's always going to hit the mark. It's always going to ensure that whatever your end result is and your end goal is, it's practically guaranteed prior to actually getting there. Now, this whole idea of mindset isn't as simple as just saying, let's just think positively. Because just thinking positively doesn't really do much. It's like a band-aid on the surface. Because, say for instance, you've got a cut on your hand and that's gangrene or bacteria has been forming, and all we do is we put a band-aid over it, it doesn't necessarily mean that all that bacteria has just all of a sudden disappeared. It's still there. So in the same way, if there's a lot of gunk within your system, if the contributing factors to whatever is the seed that goes and then creates or has been creating your present existence, if that all remains and all you're doing is just applying positive thought on top of that, what do you think is really going to happen? A lot of the times you'll see little to no change. Maybe on some level you might be able to convince yourself briefly that you're happy, you're successful, and you can make stuff work. But overall, over the long term, you're not going to be satisfied because you wouldn't have achieved what it is that you want to achieve. So in this video, let's explore in depth this whole idea of a mind and how you can take what we know about the mind and what my experience of this mind actually is to establishing a mindset that's going to win you not just your trades, but with everything in your life across the board, from relationships, love, this bond that you have with family members and friends, your health, because a lot of the times people forget or fail to understand that you are not the body. I am not Shiva, that this name that's been given to this body. I'm so much more than that. I am that soul. I am that infinite being that has 3 levels associated with its mind that can produce, create, observe, and do so many things on so many different levels. Let's explore that together. And by the end of this video, I'm hoping that not only are you empowered to be the best trader that you possibly can be in your universe, but at the same time, I'm hoping that this video alone would be that one video that remains memorable to you, that it's going to transform your life completely. Okay? And if there's any video out of my channel, past, present, or future, that I'd like you to pay complete attention to, it's this one. Okay? Alright, so let's jump straight into this. Now, when we're talking about mindset, let's compare it with trading. Okay? When it comes to trading, people often talk about where you can take just a small snippet of the markets and then just be able to do something with that and trade it and then walk away and be okay with it. But what if something in the market changes? Say for instance seasonal targets change. Say for instance how the market makers operate changes. If you look at the markets over a 12-month period, whether it's equities or Forex, there is a kind of like a seasonal influence that happens. Then you've got reporting season that happens. You've got most equities traders probably going into October of the year all the way up to the early part of the next year, they won't trade it because they'll say there's a lot of volatility, I don't know what to do with it. So it's like the market is dynamic and things change, right? So if you only take a small snippet of the market and you're working that, and then something changes, how do you handle that? How do you fix that? How do you correct that? It's similar to saying that, say for instance your car starts to make some sort of a noise and all you know is how to change the water in the radiator or how to change your battery. How would you be able to decipher what's wrong? How would you diagnose what's wrong with the car and then be able to fix it if you don't really understand how a combustion engine works? In the same way, for a lot of people who don't understand this whole concept of mind, they don't understand how the mind actually works, they are unable to pretty much define how to establish a mindset. And not only that, when you compare it back to the markets, we're looking at it this way. When we observe the markets, what we're trying to do is find those moments within the market that everything is just so familiar to us that we can then manipulate it ourselves. Not let the market makers manipulate the markets or our brokers, but we can manipulate the situation in our favor. It's almost like saying $5 trillion market is now heading in one direction. We recognize that. We recognize the stop hunts, and we are now going to wait for them to complete their crap, and then we're going to jump in on their back and then ride that wave. In the same way, when it comes to establishing mindset, what you need to understand is how the mind works, what actually is involved, the components of the mind. And when you have an in-depth awareness of that, and you know how it works, and you know how manifestation works, then you also know that there are going to be aspects to the various components of your mind that you can literally tap into and then use it to your benefit, to your advantage. And that's what we're going to be discussing here. We're going to be discussing the three main areas of this whole concept of mind. We're going to delve into which area does what and what area is presently manifesting or feeding the engine. So it's like, in a car where you've got fuel going into the engine so it can burn and then, run power. In the same way, what is actually being pumped into which part of the mind that has infinite resources to manifest whatever it is that you'd like to manifest. And then this whole concept of our brain, how we utilize that, and added to that are various tips and tricks and techniques that we're going to utilize to then influence directly specific areas of our mind that's going to almost supercharge and put on autopilot our ability to manifest. Okay, so let's have a look at this whole thing of mindsets and the mind itself. You've always heard that the difference between the rich and poor is mindset. You've always heard the difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is mindset, right? Let's get rid of the word set and just focus on the mind. What we have, and when you look at it, let's see this. What we have is a diagram of ourselves that not many people are aware of. The first part, or the only part that most people focus upon, is see this bit here that's above the surface of the ocean, right? See if I can find a bigger picture. This bit here. Most people think that this physical version of themselves is all that exists, right? And with our mind that we're talking about, in reality, your mind exists outside of your physical body. Everything that you can sense and perceive through your five senses, that is your mind. That's a part of your mind. It's a creation of your mind. And with every single person that's on Earth right now, and all the beings in the universe, what's happening is that the collective minds are co-creating what you can see, hear, feel, and touch, right? Or taste. That's one area, that's the only thing that many of us see. It's this bit here. And when we're looking at it, that we could refer to as consciousness. This whole area below the surface, which is the unseen, and most people fail to accept, understand, or believe that this actually exists. That's the whole subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is responsible for actual creation. And then beyond that subconscious mind is what we refer to as the unconscious. Now, for those of you that are religious, the unconscious mind would represent Source God. That's where everything, the whole entire universe actually came from, right? Now let's break this up into much deeper components, right? So the first one, let's focus upon the unconscious mind. We've also said that that's God, that's Source, but at the same time, when you're looking and referring to the unconscious mind, it's really nothing. It's the emptiness from which everything else is derived. From a spiritual standpoint, the unconscious mind is the actual destination that we all have. It's the absolute awareness that we're trying to achieve. From a deeper spiritual standpoint, The unconscious mind is that point before creation that once we get back to, everything ceases to exist. But at the same time, it is the absolute source of everything that we know to exist, right? And again, from a spiritual standpoint, everything that is a creation of the subconscious mind and consciousness itself is actually an illusion. Let me use it as an example this way. Say, for instance, you yourself are standing in front of a mirror. And what you're seeing in the mirror, that reflection that's looking back at you, is the conscious mind or consciousness. And within that consciousness, what's existing is your present reality. It's the illusionary manifestation of materialism, right? But in reality, the only thing that is real is the being that you are that's gazing into the mirror, which is the unconscious state. Spiritually speaking, again, what is usually said is that Source itself manifested itself into many different beings, entities, and forms in order to experience itself, right? And in doing so, what it did was it created different layers and levels of itself. The consciousness aspect is the material existence of everything. Plants, animals, the elements, which kind of formulate together to produce our physical bodies. And also this whole concept of mind that is via which we kind of experience ourselves, right? The subconscious mind, which is also to some degree non-existent, is actually this unseen part, this bit here, that is like a reservoir of abundance. It's the most faithful companion that you could possibly have, that instantly manifests anything that it believes that you truly desire. And back in our example, what that actually is the mirror itself. So you've got the mirror, you're standing in front of it, which is the unconscious complete being, the oneness, God, source. The reflection is your consciousness, which is an illusionary self. And the mirror, which is now the go-between, which is manifesting this illusionary self, which has unlimited power, is the subconscious mind. Now, once we start to understand this concept, we can then be able to tap into it further and start looking at what feeds into from consciousness to subconsciousness in order to create and manifest, right? So we can look at that and then we can start utilizing that as a tool to then bring manifestation of absolutely whatever it is that we want in our lives into the physical reality that we're presently experiencing, right? So let's look at this. Now, we've got, let's see if I can come up with a diagram somewhere. I can just do this. So you've got the conscious mind on one side, which I would say is the divine masculine. And then you've got what is the complete unseen energies that exists completely around you, which is the divine feminine energies, right? This bit here, this is where all our mental processes happen. That's where our thoughts exist. This is where logic is. This is where reasoning is. All our environmental observations are there. All the societal pressures are there, peer pressure, all the self-talk, you know, the affirmations, the subliminals. Exist here. All the mental emotions that we have exist up here. And what happens is, this is the weakest point of the three components of the mind. And I don't know why, but universal law has it that the weakest is always in charge, right? So what happens here is that whatever observations we make, whatever energy, emotional inferences we make here, whatever observations of our environment we have here gets fed into this, how I'd like to say, is the unlimited reservoir of abundance, right? So it goes over here for processing, and depends on how much of an emphasis you put on your thoughts and feelings and emotions here, it will depend on how quickly this part here responds and manifests. So this part here which is the subconscious mind, that tends to be where our feelings reside. It's where our intuition comes from. Sometimes you just kind of feel something. Those are triggers from our subconscious mind. It's not triggers, I should say confirmations from our subconscious mind coming back into our consciousness to say, this feels right, this doesn't feel right. Okay? And when we're saying this feels right and this doesn't feel right, it's almost like, okay, this is a confirmation, this feeling right is a confirmation of everything that you've desired, so this kind of is a massive tick on our end. But everything else that you've said you don't like, so I'm giving you kind of that feeling back that you don't like this. The programs that exist within me right now says that you don't like this. That's what you're getting back in terms of feeling. Intuition comes from here. The energy or emotions, the inspiration, the feelings of joy, abundance, all of that sort of stuff comes from in here. Now, we also have different aspects to this that a lot of us just aren't aware of. First of all the programs that run you exist here. When you're thinking about your breathing processes, how many times a day do you actually stop and think about the fact that your body just automatically breathes in and breathes out? What regulates that? What about all the bodily functions that are happening inside of you? What regulates that? Your heart continues to beat. What's regulating that? Right? So all of those programs actually sit within the subconscious mind. And its job really is to maintain and run your whole entire machinery that is your mind-body state. Right? So that's what's going on here. What else resides in here are all the blocks that you have, and all those blocks possibly would have been thoughts that generated here assigned with negative emotions or energies. And so this will take that on board and say, yep, you don't like this, so what we're going to do is we're going to completely block this out, right? The other stuff that resides in here, programs that run your wealth, health, happiness, your business stuff, your trading, for example, all your fears would reside in here, because here you'll have emotional reactions to the unknown. The fear of loss, the fear of death, the fear of being alone. And so because there's ample energy assigned to those emotions up here, this will take it and say, okay, I'm going to store it. Now, the one thing you've got to know about the subconscious mind is that it doesn't distinguish between positive and negative. It won't tell you if something is right or wrong, because itself it doesn't know what's right or wrong. All it knows is that it's got an unlimited supply of absolutely everything that a person could absolutely ever desire, right? So let me just quit this. And so what it's going to do is it's going to assign, it's like a Google algorithm where it's going to assign different weights and balances to everything that is shot in from the conscious mind into the subconscious mind. And it will then say, okay, here's something that's come through and there's a lot of energy and a lot of emotions assigned to that. So I'm going to process this before something else that has absolutely nothing assigned to it. The other thing that you've got to be aware of in this day and age, which is a major issue for us, is that there is just so much information that's being thrown at the subconscious mind. Now, studies were done at some stage, and I remember going through this many, many years ago. I don't have a reference for you guys right now, that scientists were able to say that the subconscious mind input from the conscious mind was happening at the rate of about 5,000 bits of information per second. Right? So if you're sitting in your room somewhere and if you just sat there, it's almost like your subconscious mind was taking 5,000 clicks of a camera shot per second. It was literally recreating everything that is an observance, that's a trigger from your consciousness straight inwards. And even if you weren't kind of consciously focusing upon it, it was feeding it in there. And so we can utilize that. If you understand that and you become aware of that, you can actually utilize that to program your subconscious mind to manifest whatever it is that you'd like. How can you do that? Well, what you do is you feed into your environment, like, right on walls. I've got in my home office, I've got massive whiteboards. and I will write and leave messages on there. I will put trading related stuff on there. I'll put affirmations on there. And so even if I'm just kind of walking in and out of my room, I know that for that brief duration of my time within my room or my office, my subconscious mind is kind of just picked up on those affirmations. The other thing you could do is assign colors. For example, one of the triggers that our conscious mind is fed into our subconscious is that we hold the gold color or gold metals or anything gold with the highest of value. And if you then assign, say, green to money, then what you could do is write money-related stuff in green and possibly just underline it with gold or something along those lines, where our subconscious mind is just going to pick up on them and say, okay, I'm going to put the highest level of authority on this, and so this is going to get manifested quicker, right? That sort of stuff. This in-depth understanding of just this relationship between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is what's going to allow you to create something that, again, unfailingly will become that mindset for you that really manifests everything and anything in your life, right? Okay, so once we understand that the subconscious mind is literally kind of the seat of all power, all unconscious programming that pretty much dictates our life in its entirety, we now know what we've got to do in order to transform that, so that all the power, the infinite power that resides within the subconscious mind, will shift from focusing on rubbish that's being created right now in our life to focusing only on that which we truly desire to manifest in our lives in real time. Okay? So in order to do that, what we've got to do is, first of all, be absolutely honest with that snapshot of your life at this very moment. When you can understand that your life is, at any given point in time, manifested and affected by the immediate past, which goes ahead and creates your immediate present, which then goes ahead and manifests your immediate future. And those three moments in your life are interconnected at all times. Because at any point in time, you have an immediate past, and you've got an immediate present, and you will always have an immediate future, right? Even if you drop dead, your soul is going to go somewhere from there. So there is an immediate future there. And if you can understand that, you can start utilizing some of this to say, okay, what I'm going to do is, in my immediate present moment, where I've got options, where I've got awareness, I can now shift that 1 millimeter in my thinking and make decisions that's going to positively impact on my immediate future. At the same time, we can utilize techniques that the likes of Einstein had to develop. For example, when we're looking at our mind, we're looking at various degrees of operation within the mind state or within the conscious state. That is like, where say for instance there's a veil between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And if we then utilize the brain and we said there's differing brainwave states, and as we progress from the higher states to the lower states, what happens is this veil between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, it thins. And when it thins, what it does is it allows us easier access to the subconscious mind. Often, the thinning of that veil actually also means where the conscious mind kind of falls into slumber. And so when it does fall into slumber, what's going on is that you've got limited interference from the conscious mind that will block anything that's going into the subconscious mind, right? So let's have a look at that. We've got, for example, the different brainwave states. We've got beta. Beta is when your brainwave state is, say for instance, you're awake, you're lively, you're doing work, you're doing something, which requires your brain to be focused. That's in the beta brainwave state. Alpha is when you're kind of daydreaming, when you're kind of sluggish, when you're slowing down, your mind isn't really processing so much, and you're somewhat semi-relaxed. When you're into theta brainwave state, it's when you're really calm. For a lot of meditators, this is the goal that we're trying to achieve. It's when we're calm, everything kind of is subdued within you. And at the theta brainwave state, it's where your thought processes kind of really fall. And it's at that point when the veil between the conscious and the subconscious really thins down to a point where you've got easy access to the subconscious mind. right? So for those of you that would be familiar with REM state, which is rapid eye movement, this is when you're asleep and you're in your dream state. That happens in theta. As you fall into lower theta and into upper delta, you're falling into that area. You know, when you're having just extreme deep sleep, where you have just zero remembrance of anything. That's here. It's on the border of theta, going straight into delta, right? There is another brainwave state that's kind of very recent. It's the gamma brainwave state, which is probably the highest frequency you can get the brain to. And usually what's said is that within the gamma brainwave state, you've got both hemispheres of the brain that come together to kind of produce a supersphere. And at that point in time, all facets of your brain kind of is functioning. And I'm going to share this. There's a link that I've got of, it's not my own, but of YouTube, which is this one. And this is what it basically sounds like. So someone actually has created this at 60 hertz, a frequency. And so I'm going to share this with you. It's going to be in the info section below this video. Okay, I'm going to stop that now. And you can have a listen to this later. What I'd like you guys to do is to listen to it either before you trade or during your trading sessions. Just lower the volume down and focus on your trading, because what's that going to do? It's going to tap into the various latent abilities within your brain, and also it's going to tap into like some of your super senses. And that will allow you to observe and process information so much quicker than you're presently able to do. Right? Let's just go back to this whole concept of the subconscious mind briefly, okay? Because what I want to also tap into is, remember when I was saying this day and age, there's just so much information that we're faced with at any given time, because you know we've got the internet, we've got smartphones, and so you know even when you're out and about, for most people, if you look around, everyone's still engaged within their phones. They're looking at YouTube, or they're reading emails, or they're doing something or other. When you know your subconscious mind is picking up 5,000 bits of information per second, right, and you're constantly just feeding it, can you imagine if when someone says to you, hey Shiv, mate, go be positive, that's going to establish a positive mindset. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be positive. Out of that 5,000 bits that's coming into my subconscious per second, right, when you amplify that and you multiply that, by say 10 seconds, we got 50,000 bits. Right? 100 seconds, we got 500,000 bits of information that's coming in a minute and a half, roughly. And then you say, okay, I'm going to think positively 5 to 10 times an hour. What do you think is going to happen to those 5 or 10 positive thoughts going into and being compared to millions of pieces of data that the subconscious mind has just absorbed? So what you find is that you're kind of competing with everything else around you in your conscious state to kind of feed your subconscious mind something that it's going to say, pay attention to, and say, you know what, I need to put this as an express requirement. So what we do is we take into account other things that the subconscious mind will put more weight and measure into. For example, you know, when you're looking at Google's algorithms, for those of you that do SEO, the thing that you start to realize is that, you know, Google have their own little tidbits that they've programmed into the algorithms that say, if you've got such and such number of backlinks from PR 10 plus pages, then we're going to give you more weight in that regard. Similarly, with your subconscious mind, what it does is it says, okay, if there is an input coming from the conscious mind, whether it's an observation, whether it's an inference, whether it's just something that you're kind of affirming to the mind itself, we're going to give it supreme weight if it's got emotion assigned to it, if it's got visuals assigned to it. That's why, you know, sometimes when we're kind of just talking to ourselves and we're saying something, yes, the brain will take that on board and the subconscious mind will take that on board, but chances are it probably won't respond quickly enough. But at the same time, if you're saying and affirming all of that whilst you're visualizing something, then the subconscious mind is going to pay more attention and going to say, yep, this is something that he does want, and so I'm going to pay attention. But what if you then assigned emotion to it, something deep, something strong, and then you amplified the energy of it, right? So, and this is where, you know, the tone of your voice changes. You speak quicker, your tone's louder. You truly feel it. You can make fist pumps. You know, you throw your arms up in the air, and you're literally just sucking yourself out, and you're saying, "This is it. This is what I want. This is what's going to happen, and this is what's going to manifest." When you have that, your subconscious mind really pays attention at that point in time and says, "Yep, this is what he wants." So I'm going to, for that little while, put everything else that I've just picked up and continuing to pick up per second and focus just on this, right? So how do we do all of those things? Now, the first thing that I want you to do, for those of you that have seen that pendulum video on my channel, what I'd like you to do is grab yourself a pendulum. And a pendulum could actually be, you know, anything with a little bit of weight on it with a piece of string tied to it. Or it could be, you know, if you've got a neck chain, pull that out and put, say, a ring or something, just hang something from the middle of it, and that's a pendulum now. And for those of you that kind of want proper pendulums, you can just buy it off Amazon, on eBay for, you know, for a few dollars. But what I'd like you to do is understand this, that even with motion, you know, with, like, if we grab a pendulum and we start swinging it, it's actually creating energy. It's tapping into the infinite creation or destructive energies of nature. So when you're holding a pendulum and you're swinging it anti-clockwise, what you're doing is you've just created a vortex within nature's own existence that is going to tap in and clear whatever it is that you input into it. So if you're holding the pendulum above you and you're swinging it anti-clockwise, you are now literally able to tap into your mind around you, your subconscious mind, and also the unconscious, and remove absolutely everything that you want from existence. Why? Because everything really is just a collective of frequencies that are vibrating, right? Or I should say a collection of different vibrations. And the same could be said about the universe itself. So your emotions, your blocks, your unconscious programs that have been running, your thoughts, even your physical body is just energy. And so what you could do is, utilizing the pendulum, when you're swinging it anti-clockwise, speak into it and start removing some of the blocks that exist for you. That's what I was saying earlier about that band-aid, remember? You've got to wash out that cut on your arm, and then be able to then put the band-aid on so it heals completely, as opposed to just putting it over the bacteria. In the same way, what we want you to do is to remove all the unconscious programs that is presently hiding out in your subconscious mind, because it's those unconscious programs that are responsible for manifesting everything that you've got manifested in life. This is a component of mindset. This is how we achieve that unfailing mindset, right? Understand that, you know, when I said earlier that this is self-talk, right? This bit here includes self-talk. Anything that you say to yourself, for example, if you tell yourself you're good enough, if you tell yourself I can't do it, if you tell yourself I'm tired, usually all of those sorts of statements come with some degree of emotion, some degree of kind of feeling like, you know, I'm just worthless, I can't make this happen. Once you're at that place, the subconscious mind takes that on board, and that becomes an unconscious program. It'll say, okay, that's what it is, then that's what you'll be. And what you'll find is then, from that moment on, whatever you attempt to do, it just fails. You know, if you're kind of telling yourself I'm scared, and you've got that, you're feeling the fear, what's going to happen in the immediate future? Remember, your immediate present just created that I'm scared feeling. Subconscious has taken it on board. What's going to happen in your immediate future? Everything that you do, even if you do it with a positive mindset, the underlying program that is in charge of the manifestation part is going to say, nope, I'm going to cancel that positive thought out, because this is what you've instructed me to do, and so you'll end up failing. So remember, I said at the very start, this whole issue that I have with mindset is thinking positively doesn't really do much. What you've got to do is remove the underlying issues that exist within the subconscious mind, before you start recreating what it is that you'd like to be, that unfailing program that always ensures that you are hitting the mark every single time. So once you get that pendulum and you're swinging it anti-clockwise and you're speaking into it and suggesting everything that is not in your best interest, including all the programs, including all the blocks that exist right now, including everything that you've said to yourself. And also, if you've got people in your life that you've assigned some degree of importance to, usually it's our parents. You know, when we're a child and we're growing up, in our first 6 years or so, we've got our photographic memories going crazy. In the first 6 years or so, you know, this is why children are able to pick up on languages and things quicker, because their focus is straight. You know, it's like, you know, the horses wearing blinkers. Their focus is actually on the mark. They don't have that extended amount of noise that us adults have. So they're able to pick up on all of that. Now with parents, if parents are unaware of how this whole mind structure stuff works, and they will say things to you in their own bursts of anger, like you're an idiot, for example, or you're not good enough, or you're fat, or you're ugly, or whatever it is, what tends to happen is that you will onboard that, and it will sit within your subconscious mind, and that will become the deciding factor with so many things down the track in your life. So what you've got to initially do, whether you were consciously aware of that back then or not, is remove that. Again, utilize the pendulum, remove it. Some people actually just write some of these things down that are surfacing, and then they will just burn it or throw it away and say to their subconscious mind, literally, with that feeling, tie that emotion to it and say, you know, all of this stuff, I want it out. I want it gone. Also, you know, there's these physical parts of your physical brain where on the both sides, the left hand and the right hand side, it's what's referred to as the Wernicke. You know, when you're talking to various people, and if you've got, say for instance, you're facing people that have to some degree influence within their fields, or their energies are strong, so within their presence to some degree you're intimidated, and their comments towards you, like, oh, you can't do it, mate, no, you're not good enough, or even the fact that, say for instance, their natural behavior is instinctive to a point where, you know, you're picking up that, you know, they're possibly stating or thinking or feeling that you're not good enough for something, and you assign the same thought feeling to whatever that experience has been, that's going to result in like a program or a note within your Wernicke to suggest to you that from this point on, that's what's going to become the dictating program for similar experiences or situations in your life. So you've got to clear it. Clear it with the pendulum, and once you're done, once the pendulum comes to either standstill or it's moving back and forth side to side, what you then do is swing it clockwise. And what clockwise motions do is tap into the actual manifestation and abundance energies of nature. And what you can then do there is add and create programs and create verbal instructions of what you would like for your subconscious mind to focus upon. You can give it visualizations, you can give it feelings and emotions, and I'd really like you guys to feel what it is that you want. And once that comes to a standstill or does a side-to-side motion, that's it, you're done. What you've just done, whether it just seems like something simple or not, is you've completely, powerfully transformed what is presently running your existence. So again, what has manifested your past, what is manifesting your present, and what is going to go ahead and then manifest your future, right? What else can you do? After you've actually utilized the pendulum, what I'd like you to do is to establish what in the business world has kind of been a term. It's been themed the BHAG, B-H-A-G. And what it means is, what it stands for is big, hairy, audacious goal. So say for instance you fast forward into your life and you're about to take your last breath, and it doesn't matter what age you're at, but you're about to take your last breath. Your bhag would actually be that one goal that would have been your defining factor, defining goal in your life. For example, you know, with me, salvation is everything that I want to achieve in this lifetime. It's that final life where I kind of, beyond here, I go and amalgamate with the unconscious mind, and that's it. That's my last life, and I have no further ones after this, right? And so everything that I've been doing in relation to decisions that I'm making at a on a daily basis is aligned with that goal. And that's why, I say to all of you guys, I'm focused more on my spiritual expansion than I am on making money, right? So the whole purpose of my trading is something different to what everyone else would want to do, why they'd want to be doing what they're doing with it. So I'd like you guys to establish that one massive goal that is the defining goal of your life. And then establish something that is a goal that is linked to that bhag, but at the same time, it's something you'd like to achieve within the next 12 months. And then break that further down into something that you'd like to achieve in 3 months, right? And those 3-month goals probably would be 3 or 4 of them that is focused on that yearly goal, and that yearly goal is focused on that lifetime goal. You can even break them down into, decades. So I'm 37 now. I'd have set goals that I want to achieve by 40, and then beyond 40 to 50, there'd be set goals that I'd like to achieve, and that will then also be linked to my overall one. The other thing that I'd like you guys to do is to start nurturing your environment. Remember earlier when I said subconscious mind picks up 5,000 bits of information per second? Well, what I'd like you guys to do is to start putting up signs in your bedroom, start putting up pictures, visuals of what it is that you would like. For example, if you would like to build a home or buy a home that the outlook from your bedroom window or from your lounge or from wherever is the deep blue beautiful ocean in front of you, well, hey, why don't you go buy paintings that's what they show. Put it up on your the opposing wall of where your bed is. So if you're sitting up in your bedroom, that's what you get to see. If you've got home offices, maybe put that sort of stuff up. Maybe in your offices at work, put some paintings up, put some pictures up. Maybe have one of those digital frames that keep changing pictures. Put into it pictures of cars that you would like, the physical body that you'd like to have, the health that you'd like to have, the happiness that you'd like to have, the home that you would like to have. I have within my home office a picture of it's what I would probably want to set up at some stage is a home office where I'm looking out and I'm surrounded by mountains. That's the sort of stuff, if that's what you desire, put that up, because your subconscious mind is picking up on that, right? And also at the same time, anything that is negative within your environment, look around you, be very conscious, look not beyond the walls, look within them. And look to see if there's anything, it may be clutter, it may also just be something negative that's lying around, somewhere, words that have been written that's negative, that your subconscious is also picking up on. Get rid of it. All right, so do that. Get yourself some sage or incense, and clear out the negative energies that exist. And by the way, you can use your pendulums to clear out negative energies that exist within your home environment, walls, furniture, bed, whatever. Same rules apply. Swinging it anti-clockwise and then speaking it, and it would be something as simple as clear out all negative energies in my bedroom, in my home, in my room, in my car, and such, right? And then wait for that to stop and go side to side, or one of the other. And then once you've done the clearing, then go clockwise again, and then add energies to it. Remember, you've always got to add back the energies, because if you've cleared a space and you haven't filled it up with something positive, something else is going to fill that space up. Right? There's never an empty space within creation. Even, with physicists, they're always searching for the explanation of dark matter, because something does exist there. So just be aware of that. Right? The other thing that I'd like for you to do, instead of just being positive, I want you to start taking charge of your emotions. So say, for instance, now that you've become consciously aware that you can transform emotions into something positive for yourself. Say, for instance, you meet someone and they say something that pisses you off. At that point in time, get a hold of your thought patterns and use, now when you know that, hey, hold on a second, this anger is going to create energy. And Shiva said that when there's this creation of strong energy within my conscious mind, the subconscious is paying attention at that very moment, right? So what I want you to do is get that anger, and then, like, if you just want to still feel angry, but don't direct it at that person, transform that anger and say, you know what, I am making $1 million per month trading Forex. Or I've got my Maserati. Oh God, my house is so beautiful, and I'm outlooking the Pacific Ocean, or I'm looking at the Himalayas, or whatever else it is. Remember, the subconscious mind can't tell the difference. Even if you're kind of just stressed at that point in time and you just want to punch someone in the face, do it. Punch the air. But do it where that energy is refocused into this is so, this is manifest, and this is what exists. And what's going to happen at that point in time is the subconscious mind is going to take what you're focusing upon. It's not going to take so much the energy. It'll take what you're focusing upon, because it'll be like, hey, hold on a second, something's just happened. And it will say, okay, you're focusing on that. Okay, I'm now going to take that on board and start manifesting it, because that's what you've just asked for. So do that. Catch your thoughts, catch your emotions, and transform it in real time, and focus it on your goal. Focus it on your bar, focus it on your 12-month goals, focus it on your 3-month goals. At the same time, what I want you to start doing is, when you're doing subliminals, for example, my subliminal that I actually have on my channel, the Forex one or the binary one, what I want you to do is, when you're listening to that, visualize. Visualize at the same time. Not visualize, or you could visualize just winning trades. Visualize, 20 pip movements that you've captured, and you've got that smile on your face, and literally, if you want to, jump up and down, feel it. Feel the joy of actually hitting your 20 pips. And at the same time, imagine the life you're kind of living without having to work, and you're hitting those 20 pips 3 times a week, and the money that it's creating, and then so eventually you're kind of just living your dreams. Feel that energy, visualize. What do you think that will look like? Like, what do you think in reality it will feel like and look like if you were hitting 20 pips 3 times a week, 60 pips a week, and then you're dumping whatever amount of lots onto it, and so you're always in the money and you're consistent? Have you thought about what that would feel like and what that would look like? And if you have that, hold on to it. And if I can ask you guys to visualize that every single day, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes, visualize that every single day. And if you can do that in the morning and at night, when you wake up and before you go to bed, your subconscious mind is going to pay the most attention to it around those times. And if you can feed it that, what's going to happen? You're going to manifest that sooner and later. Because what you're doing now is, you now understand there's so much information going in there. You need to get rid of that, use the pendulum. You also need to get rid of all the crap that's sitting there right now manifesting whatever is in your existence. But then you now know, then say, okay, whatever I'm going to feed back into my subconscious mind via the conscious mind, I can amplify all the positive stuff. I can amplify all my desires and wants and needs and everything that I wanted to manifest. And this is how you do it. Here's a little bit more tips and tricks that you can actually utilize. For example, remember when I said earlier that we've got the different brainwave states, right? This theta brainwave state moment is where all the magic tends to happen. It's that point where the veil is just so thin that you can consciously talk to your subconscious mind without the conscious mind intervening. And how you can do it, remember back in the day when I was saying Einstein, he literally stood there with a rock in his hand, with his legs spread apart, with his eyes closed, trying to drop his brainwave state down into the theta frequencies, and then be able to tap into that area where the magic happens. And if he fell in too deep in sleep, that rock, the muscles in his arms will relax, and that rock will just go thud on the ground, and that would wake him up again. But you guys don't have to work as hard as Einstein did, because what you can do is this. If you go on to Google, let me just copy this because I want to share this with you guys later on. If you go onto YouTube, and just type in theta waves, right? What you're going to come up with is just a whole heap of audios that has been produced that would take you into the theta brainwave state. Pick one. Pick one that's less than an hour, maybe 45 minutes or less. There are ones that are about 20 minutes or so. And all I want you to do with them is listen. right? 5 hertz, anything from about 4 or 5 hertz is perfect for theta brainwave state. And just casually listen. And if you're going to listen to them in your free time, sit there in a very comfortable position or just lay back. I'd rather you sit, because if you lay down with this frequency, chances are you're going to fall asleep. And I'd like you guys to do whatever you're doing with all of this stuff in your waking state, right? So sit there with that on and use your earphones, right? And when you're doing that, visualize. Begin to visualize and begin to speak what it is that you're visualizing with so much joy and peace and harmony and bliss and happiness that your subconscious mind kind of just falls in love with that. And when it does, it will manifest it. Okay? So times to do this: morning, as you wake up, before you go to bed at night, before you sleep, do it then. You can do it whenever you're free during the day, and utilize these audios, because this is now a gift where you can literally put you in that perfect brainwave state very, very quickly, where you're now communicating directly with your subconscious mind. Apply your emotions, apply that joy, apply that boost of energy. Tony Robbins, he still does it to this day, where before he goes out to do live shows, is backstage, what he'll do, he will psych himself out. He will raise the tone of his voice. He will literally make fists and slam his hands, fists into his palms, and demand from his subconscious mind with the most amount of energy that he possibly can, that he's going to go out there and he's going to transform lives today. That's what I want you to do as well. Back in the day when I was business advising as well, one of the things that I used to instruct businesses to do is, one, make sure that the CEOs all the way down to ground staff are aligned with a common goal, and two, also hold morning meetings, team meetings, whereby there's a war cry that they establish. It's something that not only looks at achievements that the team has made collectively and individually, but at the same time, psych them out throughout the day, so that they're focused on whatever it is that they're doing at that point in time that's going to align with the 3-month goals, the 12-month goals, and eventually the Bahag. And when you're doing that psych out, that's when the subconscious mind says, yep, I've got this. And if you're aligning to one goal in particular, and you're doing it constantly, over and over again, and you're doing it at key intervals, your subconscious mind is going to amplify the energy of that goal by millions of times over what would apply to, say, just that 5,000 bits of information it's picking up per second. And within those 5,000 bits, if it's picking up on stuff that's constantly reoccurring and that's reaffirming your overall goals, that will manifest, right? So in short, guys, this is what, in my opinion, my experience, mindset actually is. It's the collective of all of this sort of stuff, where you not only are you kind of understanding what the mind is and where it exists and the different components of it, you're actually also discovering the secrets of it, right? And by secrets, what I'm actually meaning is that when you put it together, you now know how to manipulate it into your favor. Right? It's the same way with trading. The more information and knowledge that you can simplify in regards to the markets, the easier it would be for you to kind of just recognize something that the market is doing and then take advantage of it. I want you to do the same thing, to take advantage of the almost autopilot function of the subconscious mind, to then align to your goals and your dreams and your aspirations, so that you don't actually have to consciously sit there and pretend to be positive all the time, right? That's one thing. The other thing is, keep your energy shielded so there's not so much input of crap that's coming in from society, from the world at large, from other people that surround us that really don't know how the mind works. Because remember, they're always projecting towards you. How do you shield yourself? Visualize. Envision a golden cloak that just kind of surrounds you. And believe it or not, if even for those of you that know nothing about any of this stuff, and this is the first time you've heard of it, this stuff works and this stuff is real. Take it from someone that not only has experienced it, but that can also see energy and can communicate with energy and be able to see the golden energy that surrounds people. Okay, so here's the one thing that I really want you to take away from this, that there are facets of your mind that is triggers and inputs into um, this other part of your mind that has a unlimited reservoir of abundance, that literally is the most faithful companion known to man or God, whatever, that can go out and manifest for you absolutely whatever it is that you would like, and that it's already actually manifesting whatever inputs that you've given to it, right? I believe we have spoken about the subconscious mind being the divine feminine, the conscious mind being the divine masculine, right? You can't create without one or the other. Just as a man and a woman is largely required in the biological sense to give birth to a child, right? Sperm cell, egg. In the same way, the seeds that come in from the conscious mind that goes into that womb of the subconscious mind is what then goes in and manifests the illusionary reality that we believe we're in the material world. Okay, so take that and begin to manifest whatever it is that you truly desire. And in the same way, when I'm talking about manifestation, I'm not really just talking about physical stuff. I'm also talking about that environment that you create for yourself where you've got the highest of confidence, that you've got the self-esteem that you'd like to have, that you've got an environment where there's no fear that exists. And when there's no fear, what you find is that when you're transitioning from a demo account to a live account, that there's no attachment to whether it's loss or failure. And so what you find is that you're able to still trigger off that trade at the right moment and win that trade. Remember, the one thing that I state in the videos is that I'd like you guys to fall in love with the process. Forget about the result. Just fall in love with the process. The result will work itself out on its own. Okay? Before I finish off, here's a bit of a formula that I've come up with. It's basically saying, when you take knowledge, and knowledge right now is everything that I'm trying to share with you guys. Plus, I want you guys to apply common sense to it. Remember, discriminate everything and pay attention and trust only yourself. Common sense here would be where you listen to what I'm saying in terms of the information, whatever knowledge that I've acquired, and then say, okay, how does this really apply to everything that is me right now? Including trading, including mindset, including all the spiritual stuff. Combine the two, and what you've achieved is you've just made it your own. That's your awakened consciousness. The difference between consciousness and awakened consciousness is where you exist all of the time, right? Your awakened consciousness is that you now know you've got this place where you are observing your conscious state as well. And you now know that you've got control over this conscious state. And how you can have control is to catch your thoughts, is to catch your feelings. It's to be able to say, okay, there's this emotion that I'm feeling. I can now refocus. I can make that 1 millimeter shift and refocus this energy so that I can now feed my subconscious mind that which is what I'd like to achieve, right? That's where you are in an awakened conscious state. Now, the other formula is when you have that awakened conscious state, plus experience. Experience will give you the confidence. And what I'm talking about experience is just testing out. As when you're demoing, you're testing out. That's gaining you experience. You're living the experience of that actual trade, the setup, the entry, the exit, and the feeling of having hit 20 pips, right? That. So you awaken consciousness, the knowledge, common sense, plus the experience itself, and then you're minusing from that the fear and the desire. Both fear and desire create attachments. And both fear and desire is what's going to be detrimental to your end result. Get rid of it. Use the pendulum, but also use experience, use common sense, use discrimination, use your newfound awakened consciousness. And what the result will be is actual awareness. That's where you want to get to. Remember that the mirror example that I used earlier. A lot of the times when you're looking at spirituality, people are talking about my consciousness, my higher consciousness. There's no such thing. Consciousness exists within the illusion. What you're seeking is awareness. And where we say the unconscious, where God's source exists, that's absolute awareness. And that is your overall goal. That's where you want to eventuate to, where you're at a stage where you are in absolute awareness, or you are absolute awareness, which is the unconscious. It's that canvas that is untarnished, the unchanging. It's that part where, just that moment before creation actually comes from, when you realize that that body of ocean and that droplet of water that is you right now in the soul form, that the body of ocean and the water itself is one and the same. And that awareness will equal abundance. That's when you discover this whole energy, which is the divine feminine, which is nature itself, that is all loving, that's all giving, it's all abundance. Okay? All of this awareness combined, guys, this awareness of how the mind works, the different components to your mind combined, and then the different techniques that I've just suggested, is what's going to result in patience. It's going to result in discipline. And it's going to, and I've got awareness written here, but that should actually be absolute awareness. And that, in short, is what I believe mindset reinvented to be. It's that place where you understand this whole working of this whole concept of the mind, and you're understanding how to feed this concept. You're understanding how the mechanics of this whole, whatever the mind is, actually happens. And so when you know that, you know how to manipulate that. You know how to recreate that in a manner in which it's serving you, and you are no longer the victim to that which is kind of just manifesting itself in your life at every present moment, and you're left wondering what the hell is going on. Okay? Alright guys, so as I said earlier, with the stuff that's going on with the Venus in retrograde and stuff, it is having a massive impact on my energies, and so I'm going to wait till the 14th before I release the rest of the videos, because I would like to put a lot more energy into these videos before before I release them, and so that's going to be to the best of everyone concerned. Okay, so all the best. I certainly hope this has made this whole mindset thing a lot clearer for you. I'd like for you guys to go forth and start doing some of these things, and then come back out of all of this having reinvented yourself and possibly have come to a newfound awareness and power within your own lives. I'm going to put, where is this? The gamma binaural beats, isochronic tones in the info section. So I'd like for you guys to listen to it, and just make sure you're not listening to any of this stuff while you're operating machinery or you're driving, because you really need to be in the beta brainwave state to be able to do that. But it will be in the info section. Listen to it when you're trading. Listen to it when you're meditating. Listen to it prior to trading, and certainly do post your results. Okay. All right, guys. All the best.